Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining me tonight again on our live mental health live stream. Live mental health live stream. There's some redundancy for you, but you know what I'm saying. This is Dr. Stephen Walker coming at you on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We're here. I'm here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. dealing with all kinds of different topics, from current events to mental health issues to really whatever's on your mind. Again, because this is not about me. This is not for me. This is for you, the viewer, people who are catching it after we upload it. But it's about you engaging about your mental illness, your mental health, whatever it may be. Remember, like I start every show and remind you, everyone has a degree of mental illness. Everyone has a degree of issues that they're not dealing with. And we need to, as a culture, as a society, be working on our mental illness, because that's the problem in our world. And if you look at it, if you look at our world politically, we can't even communicate with each other anymore because of our own issues affecting our ability to also be able to be decent with each other. So what we're going to do tonight is we have a guest. He's one of our original viewers to the show. He's been quite frequent, making good comments, engaging in what we're doing. He's got a background in the military, but he happens to be a supporter of Donald Trump, the current president. And I want him to come on tonight and just talk a little bit about why he supports the president, why he is a Trump supporter. Many people who are on the left or the right or whatever, they never communicate with each other. They've never sat down and asked somebody, hey, why do you like the president? Why don't you like the president? We need to learn how to engage with each other. So I want everyone to be able to make comments and talk about whatever's on their mind, but this is not in any way, shape, or form going to devolve into any name calling, anything back and forth. Any comments that are rude or incendiary will not be dealt with. He is here to just try to help us as a group, and whoever's watching this, communicate better with each other. And the key to effective communication is empathy. Empathy, remember, is trying to feel for another person. It's not agreeing with them. Like I said, we were saying in our pre-interview, this isn't going to be me changing his mind or him changing my mind. This is about what is the mentality of somebody on the left? What is the mentality of somebody on the right? If we don't try to engage with each other more, we are going to devolve into potentially a very negative situation if we keep hating each other. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Richard in, and we're going to start communicating about why he likes the president, what his psychology is, what his mentality is. And he actually, in the pre-interview, filled me in on something that I'm going to let him fill everyone in on live about who he actually supported prior to this. So, Richard, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you, Doc?
Good, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Hey, first, let me clarify something.
Please.
You assumed that I was military. I have never served for the armed services.
Gotcha. I thought in some of your previous comments you had made reference to
I
that.
was talking about PTSD and some other services, but it has nothing to do with the U.S. military.
Gotcha. Thank you for clarifying that. Thank you. And again, you know, if I ever say something that, you know, a viewer, anybody doesn't agree with, please let me know so that we don't let it sit out there as something, you know, of an elephant, so to speak. So Richard, talk to us a little bit. So again, remember, this is just about the psychology, the mentality, the mental workings of somebody who supports the president. Give us a little background on why you like Donald Trump, where you're coming from. Some of our viewers or people who may have caught this may never have even actually spoken to somebody on the other side of the aisle. So give us a little background on where you are with all that.
All right. Well, let me start off by saying I voted for Obama twice, like you said. Okay. I actually was young and naive and believed in hope and change on some aspects. I have personal issues with the Biden and Obama administration that I'm not going to get into right now over this live feed, but it involved treading upon my constitutional rights and allowing certain endeavors to happen that never should have been allowed to happen in the first place. And I trusted them to take care of it and remedy to the situation. And they chose to ignore it from the top down. So I asked Trump in an email during one thing if he'd consider running for president, because as a businessman, I thought that he would have some of the skills necessary in order to strengthen our economy and move things in a better forward manner. and he believed in upholding the Constitution.
That seems to be a big thing for you. So are you saying that a lot of Trump support people who support the president, the Constitution is one of their main issues?
In my opinion, it is the main issue.
And what do you mean by that? So for somebody who's not really familiar with why the Constitution is such an issue, why is the Constitution an issue for a lot of Trump supporters?
Well, in all reality, when our forefathers came to America, even though, we know the history, I'm not going to go through all the genocide and all the bad stuff that happened in America.
Sure.
But when they came over, and, there was originally a penal colony, basically. All the no good people that was trying to escape the oppression from England came here. And then, after we lived under the English law for so long, the history, they, among wanting our own freedoms and, escaping an 8% tax hike.
Taxation without representation, baby.
So that started that Revolutionary War, and then our forefathers, they said, okay, so we can't be controlled in a certain manner ever again. We have to establish certain inalienable rights that restrict and limit the government so they can never get tyrannical and take it away from us again. Okay. And then that's like the importance of the First Amendment with everything that it is. And then the Second Amendment comes right next for a reason, because that Second Amendment protects every other right in the Constitution.
So the Constitution, sorry, let me just jump in a sec. So the Constitution psychologically is part of the framework of how a Trump supporter or somebody on the right identifies with themselves as a person. So is that what I'm hearing you say?
And that has nothing to do with, yes, and it has nothing to do with race, because under the Constitution and equal protections of the law, that Constitution is inclusive, and that is for every person born here or takes the test and gets naturalized here.
Gotcha.
Those constitutional protections are unalienable or God-given rights.
So you think that people on the left, people who whatever, I know you said you voted for Obama twice, but do you see people on the left being like, screw the Constitution, I don't care about it? Like what are your, you know what I mean? What?
Yes, and the current FISA abuses and other stuff prove that.
Okay.
And I got a couple due process claims that I'm in the matter of trying to resolve, that, it goes to show that, when people are willful or wantonly abusing the Constitution, it's time for people to stand up and tell them, look, we're not going to have this. You respect these rights, or
there's going to be problems.
There's going to be problems.
So then you see then what you're saying, and I would imagine, do you have a lot of friends who are Trump supporters, and do you have like a lot of people that people in your family? Or
a lot of my family are Trump supporters.
Okay.
However, there's a lot of Democrats as well.
Sure.
It's mostly the elderly that are more worried about, the Democrat policies, other than, like some older family that, are more, Constitution minded.
Sure.
But it's gone too far left.
Sure. And what do you mean by that? Like, what's the fear there of the left? So give us an idea of what of somebody who supports Donald Trump would say is too far left. Like, what kind of ideas?
Okay. We are a constitutional republic. We believe in capitalism and free market. Socialism didn't work in Venezuela. It didn't work in Cuba. You can check with any of the immigrants that's had to refugee here.
Sure.
That's escaped them type of conditions.
So the fear then is that that a lot of people on the left want the United States to be a socialist country.
Correct.
Okay, so then let's go with that. So the fear then would be what? That what will the United States then look like? There'll be an abolishment of capitalism. The government will take over the means of production. And then what will happen?
And then we'll be standing in food lines for government cheese and 2 loaves of bread and not having it's just not what America is based on.
Gotcha. So then there's a perception is that people on the left don't want capitalism, don't like the free market economy, don't like. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
For the most part,
okay.
I mean, there's moderates, and I got respect for moderates, but when you just don't tread on me,
sure.
don't tread on the Constitution.
Gotcha.
Uphold and protect like the oath that you take to do.
Gotcha. Okay, good. So what I want to just step out of this conversation and so people are watching, if you notice, we're not arguing. We're not yelling at each other. We're not hating each other.
Right.
We're just exchanging ideas. I'm just trying to find out what's going on in the mind of a Trump supporter, and maybe in Richard's own way, when he's with his family members who are Democrats, he can find out what's going on with them. But let me segue, and we can come back to the Constitution. This is good because that gives me a little insight into, like when you said, don't tread on the Constitution. There's this idea that liberals wanted to almost not only tread on the Constitution, but abolish the Constitution. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
I'm saying that is an absolute fear.
Okay. Great.
That, will cause people to, defend their rights.
That must be a fearful, like to live in fear like that would be. How does that, like for you personally, how does that fear affect you?
I lived in fear for the last 9 years since I came forward with a certain situation. It's just a matter of time. I fear if Biden gets in office, I'm going to be whacked or put in Gitmo. If you really want to know the truth of the matter.
Okay.
But I'm not going to go involved in all complete stuff. But if you've seen the movie Edward Snowden, then you'll be able to relate to what I'm talking about.
Gotcha. Okay. So for you, then there's a fear, a very personal fear that if Biden gets into office, or when Biden gets in office, the way it's looking is that something negative will directly come back onto you.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Do you think a lot of
to America?
So I was just going to ask, yeah, like what would be the negative thing that would happen to America?
Well, first of all, any restriction on guns is unconstitutional.
I agree with you 100%. Like I said to you in our pre-interview, I lean a little bit more to the left. I'm a Demopublican, but I absolutely believe that honest, law-abiding citizens should have unfettered right. I'm a little leery, not leery, but a little lenient on the whole semi-automatic, killing machines. But I hear what you're saying.
That's just propaganda, because an Armalite, an AR, is a semi-automatic weapon used for hunting.
I feel you.
But I'm not going to get into all that with.
No, I feel you, and I'm not saying I want to abolish AR-15s or whatever. I'm just saying that's where I'm a little less, restricted.
But under the Constitution, the way it is written, there is no clause in the Second Amendment, that says anybody can have their rights taken away for any reason.
Sure. And I think that
in the Second Amendment, after punctuation matters, just like Scalia said, punctuation matters. It's inclusive, and it puts everything in the Second Amendment.
Sure.
And after the word "shall not be infringed" is a period.
Sure.
Nobody has a right to take any person's firearm away under the Constitution.
Sure.
And to do so is unconstitutional.
And I think where people on the left might say is, but then there's that other clause of in a well-organized militia. The Constitution doesn't actually say that,
there's a comma there, which includes as private citizens.
Sure.
That's why punctuation matters.
Sure.
When you got those commas and they're separating certain things, that includes but not limits those things.
Gotcha. So the fear then for somebody who's like, I don't want to say typical Trump supporter, is the idea that somebody on the right, like maybe a conservative, a more right-leaning conservative, would be something that you would be afraid that or worried that guns are going to be taken away. Like if you like when you said you supported Obama, remember Obama was coming for the guns and coming for the ammo, and that never happened. So what I would be wondering is at what point do people on the right say, okay, the left is not going to come for our guns? They may make some
Well,
restrictions on semi-automatic rifles, but
and that's unconstitutional. Any regulation of the Second Amendment is unconstitutional.
gotcha.
We are supposed to have the same thing everybody else is in order to we didn't write the Second Amendment because the deer were coming.
Sure. Right. Right. And then somebody could make the point also that back then they couldn't have imagined a semi-automatic rifle. But so Fernando is asking respectfully, what animals do you hunt with those semi-automatic guns? Just curious.
Well, honestly, I had a SKS that I used for deer hunting.
Hmm.
You know, I didn't need a 30-round clip for it, but what if I did? You know what I mean?
So I
I
think
have
one of
that
the
right. I
ways.
have that right
So one of the
under the
things you would
Constitution.
hope would be, yeah, under the Constitution would be that people on the left would understand and accept that people on the right, the idea of guns and hunting and the ability to own a gun is really part of your identity.
Well, it has nothing to do with identity. It has to do with
No?
protection. We have a right, a Second Amendment right to protect ourselves from a tyranny. And in Missouri, we have what they call a stand your ground and castle doctrine law,
Sure. We had that in
and
Florida. Yeah.
constitutional carry. There's no need for concealed weapon permits in Missouri. We have constitutional carry here,
Hmm. Do you have open
and
carry there?
yes, constitutional carry.
Gotcha. So one of the things that if we're going to find a way to get along, so to speak, is people on the left who don't like guns, who don't want to be have any guns around them, are going to have to find a way to accept that a lot of people on the right enjoy owning firearms.
And it has nothing to do with enjoying
No, so it's not
because
enjoyment and it's not identity. Good. See, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to figure out what get into your head, trying to figure out what you're.
no, it has nothing to do with enjoying it. It has to do with like I said, being able to provide food for your family. B, to be able to protect your family. And really, that's all what it boils down to.
Gotcha.
You
So it's a
know,
feeling of being able to provide and protect if needed.
correct.
Gotcha. Okay, good. And that would then lead me to say that if you don't feel you can provide and protect, then that causes you to feel what? Like if you don't have the means to provide and protect, then you're going to be feeling anxiety or fear.
And or inadequacy.
Oh, wow. Wow. Excellent. What do you mean by that? Inadequacy?
Well, I mean, like men, we're men. Our job is to
Hmm.
provide and protect our women and our family at no
Hmm.
matter cost to ourselves.
Interesting. See, that's a wrinkle I never really thought of. So it's not necessarily so much the gun itself, it's the feeling of security that the gun provides.
No, it's the knowing. It's not a feeling. It's the knowing that if you break in my house, I'm going to shoot you.
I feel you, brother.
You come in my front door and jeopardize my family or on my property in Missouri, I will legally shoot you.
That's the castle doctrine.
And the stand your ground law.
Yeah, well, stand your ground. At least the way it was interpreted in Florida was the idea that if you are faced with somebody who's about to do imminent bodily harm to you, that you have the right to use deadly force. So, and like I said, as somebody who is more on the left side of things, I am 100% in favor of that. 100%. I've always said to people on my more left-leaning friends who don't understand that I'm this way is, look, if all the criminals don't have guns, I'll give up my gun. So my ability, like you said, to protect myself or somebody else is a very near and dear thing to me. I'm a helper, so I'm going to be looking to help people.
And honestly, even felons with guns, that is protected by the Constitution. And believe it or not, I can't wait to get this in front of a new Supreme Court, especially with the new justice that we have. For the simple reason, if they interpret it as it is written, there
Hmm.
is no clause, and
Right.
that means every American has a right to defend themselves and provide for their family.
Gotcha. So I want to cycle into a couple of different other points, but what I'm hearing as we're talking about this is that owning the gun or having the ability to own the gun provides people with a feeling of safety and security and the ability to provide and protect their family. And that's where the fear comes in. If that's taken from them, then how am I going to do that?
Correct.
Good. Okay. Excellent. So let's talk a little bit more about the mentality of a Trump supporter specific to Donald Trump. Do you understand, like, on the left side of things, why there are people who don't like him and what he represents as a person? Like, can you understand that?
And would you like me to give my honest opinion on that, as far as
Absolutely, man.
my perception of that?
No, absolutely. No, no. I want you to lie to me. No, I'm kidding. Absolutely. Give me your honest opinion.
Okay, my perception of that is he can't be bought.
Hmm.
Not by Wall Street, not by Main Street, not by the underground, not by, we'll just leave it at that. Not by any other powers that be.
Hmm.
And he's putting America and everything first.
Okay, so when you say
You
he
know,
can't be bought, what do you mean by that?
well,
Because I mean, somebody would say, well, the guy has sold himself for money and development his whole life, so he's actually bought by money, bought by the idea of money being the power thing.
that was before he became president.
Hmm.
Once he stepped up into the president role, just like
Hmm.
if he was somebody in a main character of a movie, once he stepped up to that role, he denounced his salary. He's doing it for free. Okay. Any man that's going to put and sacrifice A, his money, B, being bullied by everybody on both sides of the aisle, and still come to work every day and fight for America,
Hmm.
then that's a respectable quality. That's not something that you trade into somebody that's been in there for 47 years, hasn't done nothing, and back in 77 agreed with segregation. And then
Well,
Kamala,
yeah.
Kamala endorses him. She sold out.
Well, again, I'm not gonna. We don't want to debate the specifics, but it wasn't quite agreed with segregation. He was for integration and forced busing. But I hear what you're saying. But so what I'm hearing you say then, Richard, is you believe that I think this is where, and maybe I can give you a little insight into some of the mind of the Trump hater, is that he, as a human being, represents a certain despicable qualities that people wouldn't want as a leader. So I think, like, with the difference between Obama, and I'm not saying they're right or wrong. I'm just saying that Trump has a long history of, in the mind of a lot of Trump haters, is he's got a long history of just not very good behavior when it comes to women, when it comes to treating other people a certain way, his disrespect of minorities, and all of this. So I think one of the things that a lot of people who don't like Donald Trump say, how can you support somebody with that lack of moral fiber?
Okay, first of
And
all,
again, remember, this isn't
I
about
think
arguing. This is just
right,
about giving you some
right.
insight into why some
No,
people.
I understand, but the point that the words that you're choosing to use is kind of, inflammatory towards Trump.
Cool. Let's hear it. Why?
Because you're saying, oh, he has this problem with minorities or this and this and this. How many people does he have working for him in the construction business?
Mm-hmm.
How many jobs have came to the Hispanic background? Yes, he might be against certain like
Sure.
open
Muslims,
borders
or
and
sure,
stuff
sure,
like that, but you got to have legal, merit-based immigration in order for, there to be a proper census. I'm not saying kick everybody out that, was brought here, and to try to, get a job and better
sure.
themselves for their family, you know. Give them a visa. You know, let them work. Let them get a license. Let them pay taxes.
I feel you. So what I'm hearing you saying is whatever character questions or whatever people on the left don't like about him as a human being, those don't really, you either don't believe them or you look past them in order to see what he's doing in a positive way.
In my opinion, what he did before he became president isn't nobody's business.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? None of us are perfect. All of us have men has been womenizers at one time, or has, been with multiple women, or, stepped outside of our relationship,
Well, I don't know about all of them, but I hear what you're saying.
I'm saying the majority of men.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of men and
Oh, I
women
see. So
nowadays too.
I see. So that's interesting. So if there are character flaws in him that you are guilty or not guilty of, but that you have perpetrated, then it doesn't become an issue for you because it's like, well, wait a minute, I'm guilty of the same thing. I've committed the same kind of sin.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I mean,
Okay.
what I'm saying is, regardless of what he's done,
Mm-hmm.
okay, when he became president and he put this country first,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of his shortcomings, we didn't hire him because he was likable. I don't even know him personally, so I can't say I like him or dislike him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All I can say is, as a president, he's done his job.
Gotcha. So now you hit on a really interesting topic. So likability, meaning that like if let's say hypothetically speaking, I have a daughter and I wouldn't want him or her to date Donald Trump, a Donald Trump type of person. That's not an issue for a lot of people who support Trump. They look at it like, hey, look, whatever he did before is water under the bridge. The fact that he put the country first means he kind of gets a pass to that.
No,
No?
it's the point. It's the point of this. Okay, regardless of what he did,
Mm-hmm.
if he did something in the past, that's within the statute of limitations, take him to court. If he didn't, quit slandering his name.
Hmm.
That everybody wants to blame the other side.
Exactly. That's why we're
Instead of
doing this
taking
show tonight to
and
talk to each other.
instead of taking accountability for what got us to this predicament now.
Hmm.
What got America to where it's at right now?
Hmm.
Besides media fueling the fire that spreads the hate and discontent, because just like Hitler back in the old days, the quickest way to enslave a population is to disarm it. The second way to control a population is through the media.
I hear you. So there's a general distrust of the media on the right, like people who support Trump look at the media as a bad, like he was talking about fake news.
Well, I mean, they've been saying corrupt news network for like since I was a kid.
Sure.
I mean, and like I said, all this is bigger than Watergate anyway. So, until they, and you know what happened to Nixon, so I mean, until everything's, resolved in the court system, or, everybody needs to be patient on both sides.
Sure. Sure.
You know,
Well, let me ask you this. How do you see, since you were a twice term Obama voter and then switched over to Trump, how do you see things being able, how do you see people on the right being able to communicate with people on the left? Like, do you
well,
have any, so you said you have a friend Democrat in your family, but do you have any like buddies that are,
oh yeah, I got a veteran buddy that's a Democrat, and I think he's stuck on the Democrat plantation. It was Republicans, Abraham Lincoln, that freed the slaves to begin with.
sure.
And for anybody to not understand or remember that history is kind of, you know, not very smart.
But
you
do
know.
you see how Democrats would say, well, that's the party, that's the Republican Party of the past. The Republican Party of the present is all about, money, is all about. I'm not saying this is what I believe, but is not pro helping minorities. It's not pro. It's more of an idea of survival of the fittest. If you can't make it, then why are you looking at government for help?
Well, the way I look at it in that aspect is,
Mm-hmm.
okay, it's like this. Everybody, and I'm not trying to say this from a white privilege
Sure. But even
speech,
the fact that you're aware of that is great.
because I grew up in the ghetto. I grew up the only white dude in the neighborhood.
Mm,
And when it comes to, I went through an identity crisis for years, thinking that, I was downtrodden in poverty and I was so oppressed. So I hated everybody, including, the old Reaganomics system.
mm,
However, as I grew into a man, and I had to put away my childish ways and quit expecting and acting like I was entitled to something. I had to realize, look, if I don't work for it, I ain't gonna get it. If
mm.
I don't go to school and get an education, I'm not gonna be smart enough to deal with these lawsuits.
I feel you.
And everybody, there's Trump has did prison reform, a crime reform bill. You look who actually signed the bills, that was for mass incarceration, mandatory sentencing. Look who was in office when those bills were passed.
Sure.
It was
So
under Democrat platform.
So do you see, again, just taking it back to the psychology, you see people on the left or Democrats as uniformly untrustworthy, not the kind of people, like if you could eliminate all Democrats, then the country would be going in the right direction?
No, see, that's a little bit too harsh, sir.
Okay.
You know,
Like I said,
I,
I'm just trying to understand the
no,
mentality.
I understand what you're trying to do. I mean, you're not the only one that I don't have a degree, but I've been around enough.
Sure.
You know, uh, it's like
Like, how do
this.
you see the Democrats and Republicans being able to talk things out?
Honestly, I don't know. Everybody's gonna have to sit down.
Sure.
Nancy's gonna quit trying to control everything. Chuck Schumer's gonna have to quit being like he's being. Mitch McConnell's gonna have to sit down. Everybody's gonna have to sit down, and they're gonna have to prioritize. What do
And
we want to
compromise.
and compromise? What do we want to achieve? But still, in the election from Trump, in my opinion, is wrong.
Sure.
I think like with all the people that's been voted dead, or ballots, or stretching out time frames, and I think is not very kosher, but that's just my opinion.
I got you. So there is a preponderance of people on the right feeling as though that the election was stolen. So that there was like Trump has been beating even when he got into office 4 years ago, he was talking about all of this being why he lost the popular vote. He put forth a commission to try to find out. Nothing came of it, but people still believe that there's a sinister kind of plot that is
Okay, what do you think of like the push to go into a cashless society all of a sudden with the coin shortage and everything else?
Mhm.
you know there is an ultimate agenda. you
But
know
pushed by the Democrats.
in my opinion, yes.
Okay.
I feel that the Democrats are trying to establish, I'm not going to say a new world order, because that's just
Well,
conspiracy.
that's what I was accused of today. I was
Yeah,
part of the New World Order. I don't know if you saw that.
so anyway, but and whether people just need, I don't here's my outlook. I don't support like the higher powers like that, and I don't support, you know, but I don't hate them either.
Great.
You know what I mean? Just don't tread on me and we'll get along. Let's all make money and it'll be good.
Sure, sure. Do you, and just to switch gears, do you understand why a lot of minorities, specifically African Americans, feel so the way they do? And I'm not going to fill that in, but do you understand why a lot of Black people feel so, like, just not even respected by the police, by society in general? Do you get that part?
Well, you know, firsthand, I've seen discrimination against some of my Black friends.
Sure.
I've went to court on behalf of one here in town.
Nice.
Okay. In his side, because this white dude pulled a gun on him on his own private property, and he didn't get in no trouble for it or nothing. And my friend went to jail after he, you know, I got out of the car and the guy swung the weapon over on me and gave him time to get in the house to get his own firearm. Okay. I drew the fire basically away from him. He got in the house and got his, and then it was just a standoff. Well, the cops ended up taking him to jail when that guy trespassed on his property. And, you know, under equal protection of law, he should have went.
So you see that there is systemic racism, and you see that Black people have sort of almost like a different set of rules that.
No, that's not what I'm gonna. I don't.
No, okay.
In some areas, yeah.
Sure.
But you know what? When I was growing up in the ghetto, did you know I would get stopped and be like, "What are you doing here? Do you live here? Do you got drugs on you?" Reverse racism is real too. Don't blame the white man.
And the feeling is a lot of people on the right think that Black people are blaming the white man for their problems too much.
I feel that the white man gets blamed for more than they should. There's bad apples in every bunch. To Farrakhan, we are white devils. But that's okay. That's supported.
Gotcha. So what I'm hearing you saying,
on that and you're going to get a hate crime.
Right, right. So what I hear you saying is that, and again, just to step out of the actual thing we're talking about, what I hope people watching this will see is we're just trying to understand each other. You know, we're just trying to and you're welcome to ask me some questions too. I've already told you where I'm at on some issues, but what we're trying to do is just communicate. We're not trying to argue each particular point, because I'm not going to change Richard's mind. What I'm trying to do is understand him. And that's the key thing about empathy. Empathy is about trying to understand why people feel the way they do. And if more people can try to engage with each other like this, I think we'll turn down some of that hatred. So, Richard, do you think that there will be a large part of the population that believes, even if there's no evidence that comes out to support that there was widespread voter fraud, do you think there are a lot of people, or would you consider yourself as you're going to believe the election was stolen no matter what evidence to the contrary comes out?
Evidence, that's one thing that can be manufactured to any type of way.
Okay.
You know, it's all about manipulation and paperwork.
Gotcha.
You know, and
so you're looking at it like even if there is no evidence, there's some system that is preventing the evidence from coming out.
Yes, I do believe that.
Gotcha. Okay. What would it take for you to not believe that, or to see that maybe that's not actually happening? Nothing?
Honestly, would I accept whatever President Trump's decide to do? Let's ask that question. If President Trump refused to step down until this was put through the court system and done, you know, that way, I'd stand behind President Trump. That's my job. He's my president.
But if Trump had won, you wouldn't think there was voter fraud.
Honestly, I don't know. I think when it comes to these ballots, in these electoral colleges,
It's a whole other conversation. Yeah.
right, right. I think when it comes to, this situation, I think that, most people have a price. Most people can be bought and persuaded. And that's why I like Trump, because he can't.
Gotcha. Great. Well, listen, man, I really appreciate you coming on. I really appreciate you letting me pick your brain a little bit. I hope you don't feel that I was combative or
Oh,
uh
no, sir. You want to talk? Call me anytime. You got my number.
okay, that sounds good. So Richard, this is what I would ask of you. I would just ask you to keep your mind open too for the idea that the beliefs you have are being fed by some of your issues too. And we all have issues. We all have issues. A lot of Black people feel that the institutional racism and the slavery, the trauma of thinking your great grandfather, had his teeth shaved down and was beaten, that still affects a lot of Black people. So
Yeah, it does. But Irish, Chinese, everything else has been through the same stuff.
not to the
You know what I
degree,
mean?
but I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
And,
It's sort of like there've been other people who have been enslaved. So why are Black people still affected by it so much?
well, not just that. I'm not trying to sound so callous. You know what I mean? Because that's the way that, you're describing it. It sounds callous,
Don't mean to
you
sound
know,
callous.
and that's not what I'm meaning at all.
Thank
What I'm
you.
meaning is, okay, don't blame me for something that happened so long ago. That doesn't take away the pain or the unrighteousness of that endeavor. You know what I mean? But
Mm,
I'm not responsible for it. I didn't
I
sell
see.
you into slavery. I didn't buy you. I didn't work you. I didn't beat you. I didn't rape you. I didn't do none of that.
Excellent point. So you're saying that a lot of people, a lot of the white people on the right might feel unjustifiably blamed for things that they had no hand in.
Correct.
Hmm, interesting.
And
How does
and when you
Mhm,
become confrontational, you back people into a corner, and their fight or flight mechanism is going to kick in.
gotcha.
And that's just the way it is.
Would you
And go
sorry,
ahead.
go. No, you go ahead. Fight or flight mechanism, I apologize.
And that's just simple science. That's human nature. You get scared or you feel like you're bullied, you're going to fight back or you're going to run.
So you're saying then that a lot of white people who may have supported Trump feel that they are wrongly prejudged, which then makes them get into that fight or flight where either they're going to fight it out or they're just going to be like, screw you, I don't even want to talk to you.
Right.
Interesting. Would you say that if that a lot of white Trump supporters are racists, or do they suffer from this same thing you're talking about where they're immediately assume that they are, so they figure, screw you, dude, if you're going to already prejudge me?
Well, no, honestly, honestly, what I think it is, but
Mm-hmm.
we shouldn't just be talking about white Trump supporters, because if you really look at, the rise in African American Trump supporters, if you look in the rise of, Hispanic,
Right, but they're not
Trump
here, so
supporters.
I just want to hear your take on that, because if there was a Black Trump supporter, I'd be asking them, and a Hispanic. But from your perspective, what is the racist piece that you feel is part of the? Do you think it's a low piece? Do you think it's moderate to severe? Like we're just from your perspective.
I think people want to have the right to, like and associate with who they want to,
Okay,
you know. Um, just like like I said with Farrakhan, he thinks we're white devils,
sure.
He don't want to
He's more
associate
on the
with white.
extreme side. Sure.
Okay. So you got that on both sides of the fence.
Gotcha.
Luckily, I'm not on either or side of the
Yeah,
fence.
yeah.
I am the fence right there.
I feel you. I tend to find more balance to my political perspectives too. So great, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Did you want to leave any message to people on the left or liberals or?
Man, I just hope everybody be patient, because, you know, if there is a civil war, they're going to try to call NATO in.
Oh man,
You
that's
know what
gonna.
I
That's what
mean?
we
And
don't want
then
any of
all of
that
us,
shit.
all of us Americans got guns.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
feel
all of
you.
us. You know,
I hope it doesn't come to that. I really do. I really do.
and you know, just be patient. Let it ride out. Let's see what happens.
Well, I'll tell you,
You
if
know,
there is some under thing of voter fraud that has been happening for years, maybe that's how, Trump got elected in the first place, or whoever got elected, that if that comes out, that
okay,
needs to come out. So I feel you on that.
okay. Well, you know, before you make that kind of point, you know, let me say something.
Sure.
All right, now, if you if your constitutional rights were being violated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say, you know, through the NSA or through the FISA abuse programs, say you were being spied on through every product in your home, through your phone,
Which is
through
already
every,
probably happening, but yeah,
well, you already know it is. Snowden
sure.
proved that, validated my claims, you know? But, you know, if that was being allowed, you know, do you honestly think, you know, that that they're supporting the Constitution when they do that?
I feel you, man. I
You
feel
know,
you.
and if they're blatantly violating the Constitution, isn't it our job to fix it?
And it's probably a combination of both people on the right and the left who are allowing that to happen.
Well, most definitely, and that's why they hate Trump,
Interesting.
because Trump started to expose it. You know, and like I said, I'm probably going to be dead after all this. It's been
Well, I
9 years
hope
of
not.
hell. My family's been going through hell for 9 years.
Sorry to hear that, brother.
You know, and if they do their due diligence, they'd prove it. You
Well, I
know,
hope they do, because I'll tell you what, I will be the first person screaming my bald head off if there's been widespread voter fraud, flipping millions of votes. If that comes out, that's actually happening, you're not going to hear me being like, well, too bad Biden won, and so what? That's a system. No, that means the entire system needs to be ripped apart and start from scratch. So we'll see what
well, you know,
happens.
how many states have already signed the Convention of States?
Okay, I don't know how
You know,
many.
there's like 23 or 16 or 23 states that already signed, you know, to have a convention of states. Texas was wanting to break away into its
Oh, I
own
see what you mean,
country
to
and
like
go back
secede.
to the
Yeah,
states.
yeah, I feel you.
You know,
Well, we'll see, right, brother? I mean, I hope we can find a way to get along that isn't more fragmentation, because we've been down that civil war once already, and all it did was, not all, but the majority of what it did was just widespread carnage. So, well, listen, man, I'm going to break off here. I appreciate your help. I'm processing what you said. I'm beginning to see that
hey, do me a favor though. Please don't
sure.
edit nothing I said.
Edit? No, I don't edit anything. Everything is streamed live and uploaded live. I don't make any edits to anything. Why would I
Okay.
edit anything?
Well, you know how some people like, I'm not saying you, sir,
No,
but I'm
brother.
saying some people like to edit certain things and make it look in a different manner.
No, not me, man. This is streaming live on Facebook as we speak. So, but no, I wouldn't do that to you, bro. I'm not gonna invite you on. And well, you contacted me and then we spoke, and I'm not gonna set you up. That would be the opposite of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to, in my own little way, show people through our exchange that people on the right and left can find a way to communicate, because if we don't, things are going to get really bad, and there's not going to be any internet, any TV, any electricity, any police, and it could degenerate into friggin' social warfare. I mean, societal warfare. So we need to figure out a way to communicate. I'm walking away with it from this conversation with you with a better understanding that the Constitution is really something that people on the right feel that people on the left tread on. They
Don't.
don't care about.
Right. Correct.
And that's something I hadn't really felt, because I haven't sat down and talked to somebody on the other side in quite a while myself either. So I would just offer to you, in your own world, reach out to one of those family members who's a Democrat or whatever, and find out why they're so
I
left.
do. I
Great.
talk to everybody.
Beautiful.
Because I gather information from everybody and then I process it. You
Beautiful.
know, once I process all the information, I'll make a calculated, you know, idea upon, do I agree with this? Is this constitutional? Do I agree with this? You know, and if I do, then I put it, you know, like on the table as far as a bargaining chip.
Great.
You know, all my cards are on the table. Put your cards on the table and let's make a hand.
Great, man. And let's play the same game. Exactly. So listen, man, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you. You have my word. Nothing, excuse me, nothing will be edited. And feel free to share it. And, hopefully we'll be able to keep the communication going, because we're going to need to sit down, like you said, and everyone come to the table and compromise and find a way to not have this thing go more polarized than it already is. So I appreciate that, Richard.
Yes, sir. You have a good night, Doc.
All right, brother. You too, man. Thanks for coming
All
on.
right.
Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, guys. So that was what I was trying to show tonight with how to talk to each other. Is we could have easily devolved into, well, that's not, well, and no, and the right is this, and the left is that, and you all are just this, and you all are just that. But that's not, there's too much of that. You can turn on Ben Shapiro, or you can turn on Joe Rogan, or whoever else you want to turn on, and see people just going at it instead of listening to each other. What I tried to do was demonstrate what I call empathetic communication. Great book out there if anybody wants to pick it up. It's called Nonviolent Communication. Nonviolent communication. I believe the author, it was written by a gentleman who was working on, Middle East peace talks and was heavily involved in having people empathetically communicate. So what I felt as Richard was talking was this feeling, whether it's right or wrong. I wasn't gonna, well, dude, I'm not saying I don't feel that way about the Constitution. That's not what this was about. This was about trying to feel what he was feeling. So if you're watching this live, or you're watching this after we post it, please find somebody on the right or the left and talk to them. Just ask them, why do you believe what you believe? Why do you feel what you feel? As I was talking with Richard, Donald Trump, and I used to live in New York City, so there's a reason New York City isn't just gobsmacked with Donald Trump. The New York City people know what kind of character Donald Trump has. Now, we're not going to debate that, but people know prior to Donald Trump being the president what kind of person he was. That's an issue that I don't think people on the right a lot feel. They don't understand that people not all, but the majority of people on the left vote for people they believe in, vote for people that they feel have some sort of, now people would say, well, Biden has and I'm not going to get into that. All I'm saying is Donald Trump is a very polarizing figure. So what I recommend everyone watching this is to please try to do some empathetic communication. We need it. We have to stop hating each other. Hating each other is just going to make this polarization worse. Okay. So thank you for tuning in. Again, my name is Dr. Stephen Walker. I'm on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'll pick up on some mental health related topics on Wednesday. If you have any interest in being on here and being interviewed, you can text me on this number. We can do a pre-interview, find out what the angle is, because remember, the angle for me as somebody in the mental health field is the mentality, the psychology, the belief system, the thinking. So we found out a lot about Richard. Richard was born into, as he called it, the ghetto. So he was a minority in a black neighborhood. So that's obviously going to shape his philosophical orientation. Again, guys, please talk to people you're in conflict with. Try to. If it doesn't go anywhere, at least you've tried. You try to get people to engage. If they shut you down, they shut you down. Okay, but at least you tried. All right. Well, thank you for logging on. Thank you for watching this. Please post your comments. We didn't get too many people commenting tonight because I think they were more just absorbing everything. But please, if you have any comments about this video, please share it. Please comment about it. Okay. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Mountain, and have a great week. Please reach out to somebody you're in conflict with in your family. It doesn't have to be politically. Try to empathetically find out, hey, well, listen, what's going on? Why do we have this kind of relationship? Why are we in so much conflict? What have I done? What am I not owning? It will help free up some of that calcified, as I call it, calcified communication. Okay. Thanks for tuning in. See you Wednesday night. Take it easy.